it was the 10th anniversary was coming up of the moratorium. And August 29th is a day I always remember. And I started to do the standard radical reevaluation, which is never really just a reevaluation, it's a recap of what happened that day. And looking at the Salazar portion of it, and looking at the inquest and the charges that were made afterwards, I realized, well, they're making all these accusations that it was an assassination and that it was this and it was that, but they really didn't follow them up. And how do they know? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Let's see what I could do. Using the Freedom of Information Act, I put in a request to the FBI. And around 8 months after my story, a letter came from the FBI. And it said, we've evaluated your request, and we will be sending you under said separate envelope some documents that we are deciding to release. And I was stunned. I had thought it was going to go nowhere. 2 or 3 days later, a manila envelope comes with 78 papers in it. And it was the start of a shotgun approach I took at that point. I figured, well, if the FBI LA office has something, then I'm sure the Central Index would have something, and the Washington office might have something, and the Justice Department. And pretty soon they all started sending me released documents, heavily redacted. In some cases, you couldn't even call them a release. They were so redacted. And more, for every one they were releasing, for the 78 they released, they told me they had 226 others that they weren't going to release because they were too sensitive, even 10 years after the fact. The fact that you're getting this documentation shows how much Salazar had every reason to fear that day that he was being followed. Because chances are he was being followed for years and years. The files go back a long time, and even worse, what they don't release is his entire period that he was back in Los Angeles working the 2 jobs, the LA Times weekly column on life as a Latino, and the KMEX Spanish language television job. This was when you would think the government would have the most interest in his potential leanings. And what really infuriates me, what turns over in my mind, 32 years after those releases, they still haven't released that paperwork. Every reporter will tell you, when a source clams up, when a story goes dead, it's because somebody's hiding things, not because there's no story there. There's a story there, and they're hiding it.